Hey guys, welcome back to Average Neighbors. As you know from the intro, I'm Riley.
And I'm Danny. It's always weird to try to transition into the...
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of forget what y'all hear. But yeah, this is a podcast.
And we talk on it.
Mm-hmm.
About God.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Us sometimes.
Yeah.
No masks.
No masks. But welcome to the podcast. Today we are going to be pulling a question from our Instagram that we have submitted. People have submitted questions via our Instagram, and we will be pulling a question that we think is
interesting
and a great topic.
Riveting, if you will.
Isn't riveting bad?
No, it's not. No, that's one of the... I've been better with my words.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah.
I'd be reading.
My vocab is weak.
It's not weak.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's
but I wasn't
simple.
in AGP growing up.
Your vocab is simple, but it's not weak.
It's simple, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not weak. You can have a simple, good vocab.
What's a strong vocab?
What?
If my vocab is not weak, what's a strong vocab? Or what is a weak vocab?
It's just better than yours. But it's not saying that yours is weak.
I'm saying.
Like, if you're in the NBA, LeBron is better than you probably, but like, you're not bad.
But my vocab ain't in the NBA.
No, but you on the bench. You G League. You right there.
Yeah, so it was weak.
You're not D3. You like D1.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't be using crazy words.
You're like D1, but like AAC conference. Like American conference.
Bro, American conference is good. USF, bro. Come on. All right, yeah. Jumping in. This question was submitted. It's not even a question. I'm going to say it like a question because she didn't put it as a question, but I'm going to say it as a question.
That would be good.
This is from... I actually don't know who this is. Neither do you. Her name is Jules Evangeline. You know her?
You know her.
Okay, but we don't follow her. But she follows Average Neighbors.
Jules Evangeline.
I know a lot of mutuals.
Well, thank you.
She's a Tallahassee local. She goes to FSU. I can see that. Shout out FSU.
Shout out FAMU.
We would love to meet you, Jules.
Shout out
if you
OSU.
see us at church. If I see you, I will say hi to you.
Georgia.
I see your profile picture.
Not you.
The last name was Fa though. Evangeline.
Texas A&M.
It's tough.
USC.
What are you talking about?
I'm just shouting out people that I know from different schools. Or like their schools.
Popular.
Well, I just met them on Wednesday at Unite, Liberty, Ole Miss.
So she said,
Yes.
She said obedience when it means giving up what you love. And so
Yeah.
to question it.
Okay, yeah.
What does obedience look like? Or how do you, do...
How are you obedient?
How can you be obedient?
Oh.
How can you be obedient when it means giving up what you love?
That was strong right there.
You guys get the gist of the question. So Danny, what do you think? Initial thoughts?
Okay, repeat it one more time, but like a full straight sentence question.
What does obedience look like when it means giving up something that you love?
There are two things that come to mind immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham with Isaac,
Mm-hmm.
and what do you love? Because I'll keep it handlebar real quick. If what you love the most is Jesus, then everything else feels like a second place. We kind of talked this in the episode we just made, but everything else feels kind of like a second place where giving it up isn't as difficult. But realistically and practically, there are a lot of things we love that doesn't make it easy to feel that way. So then I feel like Abraham and Isaac, that dynamic. If you don't know the story, you should read it. It's in Genesis. But Abraham waits a long time to have a son. He has said son, and then the Lord tells him, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you.
We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Yahweh, the Lord, tells him, sacrifice your son. And now anybody would be like, bro, what? That can't be God. But God did tell him to sacrifice his son. And the reason the Lord told him to do that was because he wanted to see where his priorities were. He wanted to see, are you willing to give up the blessing if the blesser were to ask you to do so? Is your faith that strong? So that's what comes off immediately, and we can go down that later. But what about you? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think obedience is so big in our walk. And I think any obedience when the Lord is telling you something, or like Abraham and Isaac, like imagine yourself like as a father or as a mother being like, sacrifice your son.
Hey, honey.
Like that's crazy.
Going on a trip.
Like that's crazy. And
I'm taking Isaac.
keep going.
What are you guys going to do? Oh, don't worry about it. Be safe. That's ironic.
Bro.
You said keep going. I wasn't going to keep going. I didn't have more to the bit than that.
Bro, that's my train of thought. But yeah, imagine yourselves in that shoe. You see where Aaron's priority is, and you see what he was willing to do to follow and to be obedient to God. And bro, are you willing? Are you willing to sacrifice something that you dearly love to follow the call of God? You know, and that's the call from the beginning, is to sacrifice your life.
Lay down your life. Pick up your
Literally.
cross.
Jesus is a perfect example of that. Jesus sacrificed his own life.
Tell them.
To save us, to so that we can live for him, and enjoy him, and that we don't have to be dead in our sin anymore as well. I also think of the apostles. We see the apostles getting martyred for preaching the gospel. They are being killed, beheaded, crucified for preaching the gospel, for being obedient to God. And so I think with any call of obedience to God, there is going to be some sort of sacrifice. You are giving up something to obey God. What does that look like? You legit have to only love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And I'm going to say that over and over again because that's what we were called to do. That is the only thing that we should be doing. And we are going to miss the call of God. We are going to miss what we need to sacrifice if we're not loving him and listening to him. And being with him. And so I think that is very, very important to that. What I love about Abraham and Isaac is that right before Isaac is going to go sacrifice his son and being obedient to the call of what God was calling him to do, God was like, I just wanted to see if you were going to do it.
He says
and he
right
legit gave him a ram.
Do
sacrifice
not
instead.
Reach out your hand against the boy and do not do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering in the place of his son. In the place of his son.
It's fine. Foreshadow.
And Abraham named that place, the Lord will provide, as it is said on that day, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Oof.
Foreshadow.
Sorry. No, that's good. I also think what's really powerful here is that two things. A, what do you think that the life that the Lord is calling you to look like versus the life that he's calling you to live? Wait, I will say that again. That was simple right there. That was weak. what do you think the Lord is calling you to live a life like versus what he's actually calling you to live a life like? And I think where the rubber meets the road in that issue is comfortability. A lot of people think that the Lord is calling them to a life to be comfortable, when the Lord is calling them to a life of transformation and growth that is not comfortable. It's not comfortable to grow. It's not comfortable to be tested. In Genesis 22, where this story occurs, Genesis 22, you should read it, but I'll read bits and pieces and jump around. The Lord said to him, "Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac." So imagine that. First off, he's saying, take your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I will tell you. What? Later on the third day, so 3 days have passed by, he goes up the next morning and he's walking with his son for 3 days. Like, we don't even think about in the time between that. Like, imagine you set out and for 3 days you're thinking, I'm about to kill my only son. You're probably waiting on every step. God's going to tell us to turn back. God's going to tell us to turn back. God's going to tell us to turn back. Imagine your son is asking you questions. Isaac literally says, "My father, here I am, my son." Isaac said, "Look, the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering?"
Bro does not know.
Like, imagine your son's like, "Dad, where's the lamb?"
What do you say, bro?
And this is what Abraham says. And this is where this is that second part. Do you truly think that God loves you? And do you truly have full faith in him? Abraham responds, "God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." So the two of them walked on together. Abraham literally was like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he was probably like, "Lord, you're either going to resurrect this kid, you're either going to provide something, but like, if this is what you're asking from me, you're the one who gave it, so I can't." Like, how many things do we hold on to because we're scared of the Lord taking it away, because we don't think he has something better?
Does it say he went on together?
It said, and so they went on together. So they walked on together. Bro.
I just think about Jesus, bro. That's all I'm thinking about. And the Father.
What I'm thinking about is like, some of this gonna hit somebody. It's gonna hit somebody. Kaboosh! They like hit the floor.
If someone fell out, just tell me. Just DM us. If you're driving, I'm sorry. If the spirit hit you, I'm sorry.
No, but what I'm thinking of is like, you pray, "Lord, like, help me to follow your will more clearly." And then your boyfriend breaks up with you. And you're praying, "God, why?" You said, "You wanted to follow me." Or even take a step further. We're holding on to things that we think is the best for us, but the Lord has a better plan. Like, a lot of us, we say we think the Lord has a better plan for us, but we don't believe that the Lord's plan is better for us, because our idea of better looks like more money, more people, more this, more that, more beautiful. Dude, like, think about that, bro. Your son is looking at you saying, "Where's the burnt offering?" And you go, you're like,
"It's you, my guy."
You just look at him, you're like, "The Lord's gonna provide." And they walked on together. You walk into that. That's crazy, bro.
I was thinking of like Jesus and how the Father's just with him the whole time on the cross. Like, the Father is with him on the cross the whole time. He's there.
I'm thinking of,
And the Father had to turn his face, bro.
I'm thinking of the garden.
Mm-hmm.
The garden where, like, Jesus, and again, these things we say, like we understand, like we struggle with these things. I struggle with these things. Like the idea of my future in my head is like what I want it to be, but I have to trust that the Lord has a better plan for me, and that's hard. But imagine Jesus, like he's in the garden. He knows what's about to come. He's aware of what's going to happen. It's a medical condition where has so much anxiety. He's starting to sweat blood, which is nuts. Like before he even got hurt by anything external, he's already emotionally baggaged internally. Like a lot of us, we can't even go to school if we're like anxious. Bro has to endure the cross. And he goes, Father, if there's another way, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but your will be done. Why? Why can anybody say, not my will, but your will be done? Why?
Because it's his will that matters. That's it.
It's his will that's the best. And it, like, if you're external, you don't understand that, that's okay. But ask the Lord to prove that, and he will. Like, the life that I held on to before receiving Christ, I thought that was the best life for me. When I gave it up, I found true life. And I will never go back. No matter how many times I feel tempted, I realize that I don't have to struggle with suicide. I don't feel as anxious. Depression doesn't have a hold on me. All those things that I thought I could never overcome, he overcame for me the moment I let go.
Right.
The moment I sacrificed my son on that altar, myself on that altar.
I think we can think of this obedience and sacrifice to like a calling too, of being like, God said this and you have to sacrifice something for you to be able to do this. But I think there's also what you just said, it reminded me of it. It's like Christ has already overcome. Christ has already overcome death and overcame sin and what sin came to do, which is death. And him rising from the dead, overcoming death so that us now can resurrect with him and have new life in him. There's sin in ourselves. I think of gouging out your eye, cutting off your hand. Like those things that it's like, now that Christ has overcome everything, it's like, now what are you willing to sacrifice to be able to overcome? It's like, Christ has overcome it already. Now there's things in your life that you are letting overcome what he's already overcome. If that makes sense. Like, in a way of, I'm doing things that I think that is leading me to life. Like my hand and my eyes are doing things, and my mind are doing things that are leading me to think that I'm doing things that is going to lead me to a new life. If that makes sense.
It took me a minute, but hold on, I got you.
And so, what is he calling us to do? Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Stop doing it yourselves. I've already done it for you.
Tell him.
Like, I've already done it for you.
Talk.
But if that's causing you to sin, you have to sacrifice that. If that's not worth it, I've already done it myself. Give it over to me. And it's like, I always talk about this. We overcomplicate it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, he's already done the work.
Yep.
He's already done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that not enough?
If whatever you're struggling with, I say this complete confidence, if you bring it to the Lord, I promise you, he will heal you, and it has already been healed over your life. Like the moment you receive Christ, you are washed free. The issue is, before that time we received Christ, and after that time we received Christ, the freedom is there. We just don't adjust our life to adjust to freedom. If there's a slave, right? And this is y'all can historically check me on this, but I believe this is like something that used to happen is when they freed the slaves in the United States, right? What happened a lot of times to the people is that because they weren't educated, because they didn't have resources, because they didn't have an opportunity, they had to go back into servanthood and live back in a life of slavery, even if they weren't claimed as slaves, because they didn't have the ability to adjust, right? Their circumstance was the same, even though their condition was different, right? Their circumstance was the same, even though their condition was different. In that same sense of sin, our circumstance stays the same, even though our spiritual condition is different, and therefore we feel like nothing's changed. Because we're still in that relationship, we're still following that same goal, we're still holding on to that pain, we're still holding on to that past, we're still grabbing on to the same things, when Jesus is saying, I'm giving you freedom, walk out of the jail cell. Stop holding on to your shackles, stop sitting down and waiting, get up and walk. When he raises Lazarus from the dead, he says, get up and walk. He calls him out of his grave after he's been raised to life. Because even if you're raised to life, if you're still sitting in a coffin, you're going to feel just as dead as ever before. And now you're going to even feel it worse because you're aware. And so I think that's the issue of why we still struggle with things, even myself included, is I have to look, am I asking the Lord to fix a byproduct or fix the root of the issue? Right? If the root of the issue is loneliness, but I'm praying for a relationship, then I'm not targeting the root issue, I'm targeting a byproduct. If the root issue is identity, but I'm asking for a job, a promotion, and something else, I'm not going to the root issue, I'm going to the byproduct. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's what I kind of think of in that sense about obedience, is that the Lord is just calling us to let go. Just let go. Let go and let God. Like, you know, we have these overused analogies of like, let Jesus take the wheel, but like for real.
Yeah.
It is that simple.
To wrap it up and answer the question more simply.
Yeah.
What does obedience look like when it comes to sacrifice? It's like, I find it hard for there to be obedience without sacrifice. Because in obedience, God is calling you to something, which means that you have to rid yourself of something. Like there is some sort of sacrifice in yourself or in your life, or something that you're doing, something that is part of your life. Like there is some sort of ridding yourself, getting rid of yourself to say yes in anything.
Yeah.
To God's call.
That's good.
And sometimes it can be easy and be like, of course I'll do that.
Yeah.
That is something I like to do. But there's some things that God will be like, do this, and you're like, but that makes me uncomfy.
Give up your son.
Like that. Give up your son.
And take him with you.
And he's going to ask you some. He's going to ask you what we're doing. It's so uncomfortable. But
he provides.
The Lord will provide.
Always.
Even when it seems uncomfy or hard. The obedience is worth it, and he will provide.
Amen. Thank you all for listening. And as always, average neighbors.
Out.